The release of DCBT04 Destined Showdown brings in the next line of Divine Skill units with the Destined ones. In this video, I'll be going over the Destined one of Scales, Aelqilibra. Aelqilibra is a Dragon Empire deck looking to utilize the overcharge mechanic to gain a ton of power and pressure the opponent very hard with its really big numbers. Our main grade 3 is Destined one of Scales, Aelqilibra. During your turn, you can Soul Blast 2 to give 3 of your rearguards plus 5k power, and if 2 of those rearguards had the overcharge ability, you draw a card and Aelqilibra gets plus 10k power. Overcharge is a keyword that is activated whenever it's targeted by your Aelqilibra Vanguard. Aelqilibra's Divine Skill gives 2 of your rearguards plus 5k power and also deals the damage to the opponent and reducing that damage check power by 10k. For our ride line, we have Aelqilibra Dragon, which while it's in overcharge gets 10k power and calls itself whenever you ride Gatling Kanone over it. And then Gatling Kanone, whenever you ride over it, can look at top 3 to add any grade 3 or less card to your hand and bot deck the rest. And you get to soul charge if that card you added was an overcharge unit. For key cards, we have Dragritter Shalhoub, which is a 15k base while you have 3 or more overcharge units, and also has the overcharge ability that lets it restand whenever your Aelqilibra Vanguard attacks, and it gets plus 10k power. This gives Aelqilibra very easy multi-attack and is also a really big attacker by itself as well. We also have Dragritter Fariza, which has the overcharge ability, allowing it to gain 10k power whenever it boosts, and if you haven't countercharged at the end of that battle, you can retire it to countercharge. The primary thing we're countercharging for is Dragritter Edil, which whenever it's placed on rearguard and you have 2 or more overcharge units, you Counterblast 1 to draw a card and soul charge 1. It also gets 10k power while in overcharge. So between the 3 grade 1 overcharge units in this deck and Shalhoub, this deck gains a ton of free power, and basically every attack is going to be forcing at least 2 card guards from your opponent. And with so many different overcharge units, we're also playing the Order Equilibrize the Scales of the World, which you can play for a counterblast to call 2 different named overcharge units from your drop zone, allowing you to rebuild your board very easily. Here is our first deck list. The primary thing with this deck list is utilizing Forward and Shenri as an early game package, since Shenri will be a 13k beater and puts itself into Soul to draw a card, and then Forward can call Shenri back out from Soul in order to use again. This combination of cards gives this deck a much stronger early game in order to make its really giant numbers stronger later. And we're also playing Dragritter Foulheart, which is the energy cycler of the deck, and also give you other ways to revive overcharge units since it can revive grade 1 units. If you don't want to buy forwards, which I get, I don't want to either, here's a list without Forward or Shenri. We still have the 4 Foulhearts in here, but now we are also playing Brachial Force, which gives really nice on-hit pressure whenever it's in front of an overcharge unit, because then this attack will be at least 33k, since it'll have a 23k booster, and if the opponent lets it hit, then you get to cycle through your deck faster and also retire an opponent's rearguard. We also added in 2 Panzerschreck Dragon, which has the overcharge ability that whenever it attacks, you can Energy Blast 3 to give it 15k power, and then at the end of battle, you draw a card and retire it, making it a 33k attacker when targeted by Aelqilibra, and also cycles itself for a new card. When combined in tandem with one of the grade 1 overcharge units, this can swing for 56k by itself. And then the last deck list is a budget deck list. We took out the Foulhearts, the Sanctitude, and the Bracing Angel Ladder, and maxed out Panzerschreck, and added in 2 Justina, which allows you to search for more Equilibrize without having to put more of them into your deck. Our early game changes depending on which variation we're playing, but Forward and Shenri are prime candidates of having a really strong early game, allowing you to push for big damage early and make it very awkward for the opponent to guard your attacks. Brachial Force is also a really nice early game card to have, because if the opponent calls down the board against you, then you can call down your Brachial Forces and swing at their rearguards and pressure their board. And then lastly, we have Edil, which is a really good grade 1 you can call down early, especially when you go first, since you'll call Rakenturfer from your Soul, and then whenever you call Edil, that'll give you 2 overcharge units, allowing you to draw on soul charge, and then it can swing 8k into the opponent's grade 1. You really want to make sure you don't lose too many pieces by the time you reach grade 3, since you need at least 2 overcharge units whenever you go into Aelqilibra. Basically, all of your overcharge units except for Shalhoub is really good on this turn, since all of your grade 1s will be swinging for 23k, and then Panzerschreck will be 33k. You really want your turn 3 to be as strong as possible, so then later in the game you can fully utilize your divine skill to put as much pressure on the opponent as possible. If you get them to 4 damage by the end of turn 3, then that's a very good spot, but 3 damage is also pretty solid, because then late game, you'll be able to use Aelqilibra's divine skill in order to deal a free damage, and then between the divine skill and Aelqilibra's first effect, you're able to give 5k to 5 of your rear guards, allowing you to proc all the overcharge units on your board. You'll also have full access to Shalhoub and Persona Ride, allowing Shalhoub to restand with a ton of power and giving this deck really easy 4 attacks. And that's all for Aelqilibra. Aelqilibra is one of the stronger decks coming out of this set, just due to its immense power and its ability to deal a free damage. And it also gets really good support going into set 5, so picking this deck up early can be pretty good for you.